I'd done it. I gave in. I bought one of these horrible things. Still, what can you do? Anyway, I'm Rob, and this is Swift Slots, and this is 100% a slot car channel for making slot cars with these, not with these. Anyway, this has its place. I gotta admit, I don't like them, but they do have their place. And I also hate computers. I hate computing. I don't do pressy buttons. I make things with these and they work very well. So this is a bit of a problem. But don't worry, we're not going to be using this too much. And if I do any projects on it, then I will be selling those projects on my website, so that if you want to do any of the builds that I'm going to do using this, you can also participate. I'm not going to be a channel where I make something on a 3D printer and then just sit back all smug and say, well, I've got a 3D printer. You're just going to have to work it out for yourself. So that won't be how this channel will be. If I do make any projects on this printer for a project that I'm making on the channel, those projects will be going up on my website for you to buy, so that you can actually join in as well. So with my reluctance to want to use computers, the biggest problem with one of these is designing the actual model itself. Now normally I would just make it by hand and I cast it in rubber, cast it in resin. Now that's great for bodies, but when it comes to chassis, these things I think really do hit the mark for a home build slot car, the old 3D printer, because the PLA that they use, or the material that they use, is very, very good. It's superior to resin in every way, and it's just a much better material to make a chassis from. However, I don't really think personally that a 3D printer is necessarily the way to go for a slot car body. Now I know that they make beautiful bodies, or they can, but this is a PLA printer, and I don't think PLA is the right medium for a body, so you'd obviously use a resin printer for that, and that comes with a whole load of problems, both practical and physical, and with the end product as well. So I won't ever personally go down the resin printed 3-dimensional bodies. Other people do that. Won't be for me. I will still be putting in car body filler, shaping it by hand, taking a rubber mold, and then taking a resin casting, because I feel that I can get a much better, more reliable, more repeatable finish with a resin cast handmade body than with a 3D printer. Unless of course you're using some really high-end CAD program, you've got an amazing guy programming it and they've got a £30,000 3D printing machine, then yeah, probably you can get a really good casting or a print from that for a body. But that's not where I am, and that's not where the majority of you guys are either. So it'll be handmade bodies, possibly a 3D printed chassis, but mostly brass. We all know brass is king, so that's where we're going to go. Anyway, so this is to start the project off on this printer, just to get myself limbered up, because I'm using Tinkercad, which is it's a really, really basic program as far as I understand it. For me, it's right on the edge of my abilities, Tinkercad. But you know, from Tinkercad you can move on to Fusion 360. So you never know, I might progress from Tinkercad. But at the moment, what I've done is I've taken something easy. I've taken my existing little resin cast chassis that I make for my 1/43 scale builds, and I've got it in my hand, so I can literally take my measurement over it and I can hopefully build that in Tinkercad. And as you can see to this little picture here, I definitely have. I've actually managed to write this as a program, as a 3D print in Tinkercad. Now yes, the STL was corrupted when I finished it, because the Bamboo Lab program said, no, there's a problem here, there and everywhere. But there's another little program, I'll put the link there, I can't remember which one it is at this minute, and all you do is you upload the STL to that particular website and it fixes it most of the time, and it did with mine, so I wasn't too far out. Anyway, I've now got a file that I can print on this printer. So this weekend I'm going to be making an enclosure for this. Now I know this doesn't go in an enclosure, this particular machine, but apparently 3D printers or PLA printers do like a nice uniform temperature, about 21 degrees in a room. They like a nice consistent temperature. Plus also there's a smell with PLA which I wasn't aware of, so I need to be able to extract the smell and also keep its environment nice and warm. So it's going to go in a big box. I've got a little spot where I could make a big wooden box. I'll have a heat lamp in there. I'll have a little fan to suck out the smell to the outside, and also to keep the temperature within that box at about 21, just so that everything runs at as optimum temperature. Did I digress? I think I probably did. Anyway, so once I get my box made this weekend, and I've got my file for this now with the STL fixed. This is now on a Bambu Lab ready to go. Get it in my slicer and get it ready. So as soon as this is uploaded, we're gonna or fitted, we're gonna get this printed all out, and I should put them on my website and see if anybody wants one of these. And I will do a project at some point relatively soon using my brand new 3D printed 1/43 scale chassis that I've done. And then from that project onwards, maybe along the way we can make some spacers on it, or we could make some chassis upgrades for it, or whole chassis. So I've got a couple of big builds coming along that I want to make a large chassis from, and I think it'd be quite good fun to make a 3D printed chassis for that. We'll have to see how it goes. It's an option, it's a tool, and a great thank you to Shotgun Dave for just giving me a little bit of a pointer on the 3D printer. Now I know this isn't the printer that he recommended or the program he recommended, but it's great that he's got my back, and thank you for that, Dave. So you'll be a lot of use going forwards, I'm sure. Anyway, if you'd like to follow along with my shenanigans using this 3D printer at some point and watch me make many failed prints, I'm sure, maybe you'd like to subscribe. And if you could hit the little bell button, that'll ensure that you don't miss my absolute mess with this printer. So until the next time, thank you very much.